Welcome back, Silver Bull fans. Welcome back to Silver Bull channel. Now, a warning for all the atheists out there, this is going to be a religious talk. It's about some of the lies that are told about money. I recently had a old friend, I think I was a bit harsh calling people parasites, and they seem to have a socialist gospel where they haven't really understood what Jesus said about money. What do people seem to think? If you're poor, you're more holy. That's not so at all. Jesus talked a lot about money, and it's easy to handpick certain stories, like the rich young ruler, where he said, "Take everything you have, give it to the poor." It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than a rich man to enter heaven, and to suddenly think that Jesus had something against people having any money at all, which is not true. And in fact, he himself once had a year's wages claimed by some to be wasted upon his feet. But Jesus knew the heart of the woman who had made this sacrifice, and rebuked those who said that the money would have been better going to the poor, because he recognised a brutal reality, and that is that you will always have the poor with you. And quite simply, because Jesus was a realist, he knew some people would never work, they're just too lazy. And the fact of the matter is, when I publicly rebuked some of the redistribution of wealth schemes that the government has, some of the socialist schemes they have of taking money from the productive members of society and giving it to people who I call parasites. And you all know who I mean. I'm not talking about someone who's has a disability that prevents them from working. I'm talking about those who can work but don't, or claim to have a disability and don't even try. I myself have been injured previously and continued to soldier on trying to work. I know others who likewise have back problems but continue to work through pain. And you've got to respect people like that. You get others who just all too soon look for an excuse not to work, who would be more than happy to parasitise off all the other people. You get people who who choose to be alcoholics and choose to be drug addicts, and because they've allowed these addictions to take over their life, they no longer become useful, productive members of society. They instead parasitise off all the other people. Here in Australia, drug addicts and the like still get their social welfare payments. It's not, we have means tested if you get paid too much, but we don't have a means test on people to see whether they're wasting the money given to them by the tax man. There are people who get their checks from the government and their family allowance and other things, and none of it goes on what it's supposed to. It doesn't go on feeding the family. It doesn't go on providing food and clothing for the children. It immediately goes to buying pot or amphetamines or other things. And that is straight out thievery. Not only are they stealing from themselves because they're destroying their own lives by taking drugs or narcotics, which destroy your health, and in the case of something like speed, actually will decrease your lifespan significantly. So they're stealing their own lives from themselves. They're committing a slow suicide. And the same with smoking, hence why I don't smoke. It's the same deal. It's just a drug that takes longer to kill you, that's all. the simple fact of the matter is, these people are stealing from the rest of the taxpayers because they're expecting everyone else to subsidise their wasteful life, their prodigal life. And you know, it annoys me. The fact of the matter is, Jesus does talk a lot about money. He talks about mammon too, which is unrighteously gained wealth. And he recognised, even in his time, how many people got their wealth through undue political influence or through ripping off others. And we see exactly the same thing happening today. You know, you don't have to go far. Look at MF Global or Goldman Sachs or politicians who, through insider information, have increased their wealth hugely. It's interesting to see most people in politics nowadays are very wealthy because they can use that political clout to gain wealth, unrighteously obtained wealth. We still have the banksters today, and it's interesting. Jesus drove the money changers out of the temple, and it's the one time he got angry in his ministry, and because these people were ripping people off. They were the MF Globals and the John Corzines and others of their time. And worse still, they were doing it under the guise of religion, because you couldn't give your denarii to the church because it had pagan images on. They'd changed the silver into supposedly silver that could be presented in the temple, and in order to do this, they were changing the money at an excessive rate of exchange. So not only were they ripping off the people, they were ripping off the temple, they were ripping off God. That's not that. I don't think Jesus would have expected them to do it for free, so don't get me wrong. But these people were well known for doing a huge graft on the system. And that's where we are again today. People having a huge graft, and the banksters still aren't happy, so they come up with new schemes like an ETS, where we trade in imaginary carbon futures, and the rest of us have to pay a special tax to them on these carbon futures, because they want to squeeze even more money out of the general person. So, it annoys me when people come up with this sort of socialist rubbish, and that they seem to think communism equals the gospel, which it doesn't, or that you're more holy if you're poor. Well, that's not what Jesus is talking about either. Let me give you some texts to bring balance to this argument. Proverbs 13:22. A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. Okay? Not only does a good person leave inheritance for their children, but their children's children. So normally, I like the work of Robert Kiyosaki, where he says a truly wealthy family isn't just one generation, it goes down the generations because you've taught each other how to be responsible with money, how to truly invest. You don't teach your kids anything if you teach them to be poor and to rely on the government. A Christian should not be relying on the government for money. They shouldn't be seeking to be an added burden to the state. Another one which I particularly like, and I won't kill you with too many texts. I'll give you another text. Ephesians 4:28. He who has been stealing must steal no longer, but must work. Do something useful with his own hands, that he may have something to share with those in need. How to those who are on the dole, You can't claim to be a Christian and just be sitting on social welfare and be doing nothing to attempt to get off that. Um, for the beach run where you get a person who is busy off surfing and enjoying life on the dole while the rest of us work to pay for that. That's it. He is a thief, plain and simple. Um, there's nothing glorious about being unemployed when there's jobs there. Now, I'm not. I know there are economic downturns. I know there's times when it's very difficult to find a job, and America's going through that at the moment. I understand that. I'm not criticising people who have to, in genuine need, seek help from the government. And I'm sure most taxpayers, I'm quite happy as a taxpayer to pay my share for that. I don't mind that. I don't mind helping look after the old widow and things like that. No one does normally. In a modern society, we look after people. But there's a difference between those type of people and those who are just sucking and taking advantage of the system. Mothers out there who deliberately have lots of different children to lots of different fathers. So not only do they get child support from each individual father, which is not taxable and not even included as their income, but who also then get a domestic purposes benefit or a solo mother's allowance or whatever you like to call it. And they're what I call state-sponsored baby factories. Their only occupation in life is to open their legs and get pregnant and then expect the rest of us to pay for it. They're a different type of prostitute. That's all they are. Instead of having to repeatedly sleep with guys for money, they sleep with them a few times, get themselves knocked up, and then keep on getting paid. They're probably the smarter type of prostitute. And yet, you see some of these mothers, and they put no time into their children because their children are just a source of income to them. If they respected their children, they'd try to bring them up in a two-parent household. You're going to get some do-gooder jump up and say, oh, how dare you speak against single mothers? But I'm talking about single mothers who choose to be single mothers through choice, who chose to be either a slut or chose to cheat on their husband, or you know the type I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the lady whose husband died in a war or died, unexpectedly, had a heart attack or anything like that. Yes, those type of solo mothers I respect. But these state-sponsored baby factories are parasites. They are stealing from the rest of us. And I think it's right for a Christian to jump up and say, this is theft, this is stealing. You get those who choose to not work or parasitise with others. You get others who charge unfair rents. All these things, whether you're at the one end of the spectrum, i.e. poverty, or very wealthy, there's ways you can conduct yourself where either you steal from others or you don't. You can be as much a thief if you steal from the fellow citizens, being poor, having nothing, because you thief. You take the money and you spend it on alcohol, drugs, good times or whatever. You're as much a thief as John Corzine, who steals millions of dollars from MF Global account holders and other like banksters. It's just one's a thief who has nothing afterwards, and one's a thief who has millions afterwards. They're both thieves. So it's interesting. It annoys me. A lot of people just cherry pick from the Bible and then go to prove their point, i.e., Christians are stupid because the Bible says stuff like you shouldn't wear two clothes together, um, two different fabrics or things like that, and it's obvious they haven't read the whole Bible. Um, if you read the whole Bible, it's a very, even just from a non-religious point of view, it's a very sensible book, or collection of books. It's got some very sensible advice and about how to lead your life. Um, and when you consider all the laws and regulations we have today, trying to control our lives, the laws in the Bible are very succinct. Um, and rather than just cherry pick one text here or there, you probably should read the whole thing and you get a better feel of what it's trying to talk about. Um, you don't read you don't understand someone's PhD argument by reading just one sentence of it. You read the whole doctrine to understand it. Same deal with the Bible. Um, so it's interesting. Jesus said, whoever is faithful with much, whoever is faithful with very little is faithful with much, and whoever is unrighteous with very little will be unrighteous with much. So, it doesn't matter whether you're unrighteous with just a little or much, whether you're just a dull bludger or whether you're a John Corzine stealing from Emmett Global. It doesn't matter if you're a poor Christian who just responsibly uses their money, or you're a wealthy Christian who responsibly uses money. Um, it all has to do with how you're using it, how you obtain it. And I personally really do like, if I'm going to cherry pick a text, I'll cherry pick a text, and this one is what I'll cherry pick, is Ephesians 4:28. He who has been stealing must steal no longer, but must work, do something useful with his own hands that he may have something to share with those in need. And to everyone out there, do something useful with your own hands. There's nothing shameful in going out there and working. There's nothing shameful in doing whatever work you can find. I've been a cleaner before. I've cleaned people's toilets. I've cleaned, dirty things. I've cleaned out ovens. I've cleaned out. I've washed cars. I've done all sorts of things. Jobs that many people look beneath, that are beneath them. Let me tell you, there is no job that is beneath you if it pays money and you need an occupation. When I first came to this country, I worked in a hotel pushing towels around and restocking soaps and really basic stuff like that. Not the most exciting job, but it's money, and you're still a thief if you're getting the dole, and there's other work out there that you can do, and you choose not to do it because you're too superior for that kind of work. You're looking for something bigger or better. Just do the work, and if you're faithful with little, then you're going to be faithful with much. And you start with a crap job and do that well, eventually you're going to get a better job, because those who work in life do get rewarded. And anyone who seems to think that they deserve the wealth of others, expect to have an easy ride, they're a thief, plain and simple, and a parasite. And I'm not going to apologise for calling them that.